She looked like the lucky one. Perfect house, perfect family, perfect life. But perfection, it comes with a price most people never see. On the outside, Caitlin had everything a girl could ask for. A nice home in the suburbs, a family that smiled for pictures, and a face that could light up any room. But what happens when beauty becomes the very reason you're hated? What if being born pretty meant you were never taken seriously? Not by your own parents, not even by your own sister. Caitlin learned early in a family that worshipped achievement. Her appearance was both her crown and her curse. And when her sister's wedding arrived, that crown became a target. They said it was Emma's big day. But for Caitlin, it was the day they finally showed her what they really thought of her, while she was still asleep. Caitlin was 29, smart, independent, kind. But in her family, she was never the intelligent one, never the serious one, never the one they were proud of. To them, she was just the pretty one, the one with the nice smile, the long blonde hair, the one they showed off in holiday pictures, but never listened to at dinner. Her younger sister, Emma, now she was the real deal. Honor roll, Ivy League, the pride of the family. Every achievement Caitlin worked for, every A+, every promotion was brushed aside. "You're lucky you're so pretty," her mom would say. "You don't need to try as hard as Emma." But Caitlin was trying, and she was tired of pretending her value stopped at her reflection. Because the truth is, she wasn't born to play the background. They just never gave her the script for anything else. On paper, Caitlin had made it. She had a stable job in marketing, her own apartment, a circle of friends who respected her. She even helped pay for her parents' vacation last year. But none of it mattered, not to them. When she got promoted, her father asked if her boss was a man. When she bought her first car, a modest used Honda, her mother said, "Trying to show off, huh?" Their words didn't need to be loud. They were quiet enough to slip under her skin and stay there, so Caitlin stopped sharing. She stopped celebrating. She stopped expecting anything. Her silence was supposed to keep the peace, but instead it built a prison. One compliment for Emma could flood a dinner table, but for Caitlin, a nod, a glance, sometimes not even that. She smiled through it all, not because she was okay, but because she thought maybe if she stayed quiet long enough, they'd finally see her. They didn't. When Emma got engaged, the whole family acted like they'd won the lottery. It wasn't just a wedding. It was a campaign, a mission, a full-blown production where Emma played the princess and everyone else supporting cast. Every conversation at dinner became a planning session. Every weekend was booked with venue tours, cake tastings, and seating charts. And every story started with, "So, for the wedding." It didn't matter if Caitlin had news about work or a hard week she wanted to share. There was only one topic allowed Emma, and Jackson. Jackson, the golden fiancé. He came from old money, worked at a law firm, looked like someone off a wedding magazine. To their parents, he was a dream come true. And Emma, the perfect match. Don't forget to RSVP for the bridal shower. Have you picked a gift yet for Emma and Jackson? Let's not wear anything too bright. It's Emma's weekend. Every phone call, every dinner became about their future. And Caitlin, she became a background character in her own family's story. It started small. Don't wear anything too tight, okay? We don't want to draw attention away from the bride. That dress is nice, but maybe a little too fitted for a family event. Try not to smile too much in the photos, honey. Let Emma shine. They sounded like suggestions, but they weren't. They were reminders. Reminders that Caitlin's presence, her appearance, was always seen as a threat. Not because she tried to outshine anyone, but because she could. So they clipped her quietly, comment by comment, smile by smile, inch by inch, until showing up started to feel like apologizing. And yet, she still showed up, still helped, still stayed quiet, still tried to be the bigger person. But deep down, something was starting to fracture. You can only be told to shrink yourself so many times before a part of you refuses to keep folding. Caitlin thought helping would bring them closer. She designed the thank you cards, handmade the decorations for the bridal shower, stayed late to organize flowers and clean up. Not once did she ask for credit. She wasn't doing it to be seen. She was doing it because, despite everything, Emma was still her sister. But to Emma, every effort was a threat. You just had to put your personal touch on everything, didn't you? Emma's voice trembled with resentment. Now everyone's talking about your decorations instead of my gifts. Caitlin blinked. I was just trying to help. Well, don't, Emma snapped. If you're going to outshine me at my own bridal shower, maybe don't bother showing up at the wedding. It wasn't the words that hurt the most. It was the look. That cold, familiar look Emma had given her since they were kids. The look that said, "Your existence is too loud for my comfort." They weren't sisters planning a wedding anymore. They were enemies playing a game of silent war, with the whole family cheering from the sidelines. The night before the wedding, Caitlin stood outside Emma's door, holding a mug of hot chamomile tea, her sister's favorite. She knocked gently. "Hey, can we talk?" To her surprise, Emma opened the door. No eye rolls, no sarcasm, just tired eyes and a long sigh. Inside the room was quiet. White gown hanging near the window, suitcases packed, perfume lingering in the air. They sat on the edge of the bed like they used to when they were kids. No raised voices, no accusations, just two sisters. "I'm nervous," Emma whispered. "What if I'm not enough for him?" Caitlin didn't hesitate. "You are. He loves you, Emma, and you're going to be a beautiful bride, a strong wife. A whole future is waiting for you." Emma looked at her. For once, really looked. And then she hugged her. "Thanks, Kate." For a moment, Caitlin let herself believe. Maybe this wedding could be a new beginning. Maybe all the pain and competition could fade into something like peace. She went to sleep that night with a calm heart, not knowing she had just shared a moment of warmth with the person who had already decided to let her be destroyed. The first thing she felt was something soft brushing across her cheek. Half asleep, Caitlin reached up to swat it away, and that's when her fingers touched something wrong. Hair, not still attached, but loose, cold, lying on her pillow in clumps. She sat up with a jolt, and more fell from her shoulders. Long, golden strands, familiar, precious, gone. And then she saw her, at the foot of the bed, her mother, holding scissors. No guilt, no panic, just calm. And a small, satisfied smile. What did you do?" Caitlin's voice cracked, barely human. Her mother didn't blink. "I did what needed to be done. Emma deserves the spotlight. You've had enough of it." Caitlin stumbled to the mirror. Her breath caught in her throat. Her reflection wasn't hers. Patches of hair had been hacked off. Some areas were nearly bald. Others stuck out in jagged, uneven chunks. She looked like a doll that had been vandalized. And standing there frozen in shock, she realized this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of madness. It was a message. She stood in front of the mirror, a jagged version of herself staring back. Her breath hitched. Her hands trembled as they touched the raw patches on her scalp. Behind her, footsteps. Her father. He didn't ask if she was okay. He didn't look surprised. He just said flatly, "Now maybe someone will pity you instead of envying you." Caitlin turned toward him horrified. Then her mother's voice chimed in, calm as ever. "You needed to be humbled. This is Emma's day." That sentence, simple, measured, cold, but it landed like a knife to the soul, not just because of what it meant, but because of what it confirmed. They hadn't just cut her hair. They had decided she didn't deserve dignity. They wanted to reduce her, not just in appearance, but in worth. That was the moment. The moment the good daughter died. The one who kept her head down, who stayed quiet, who kept giving grace to people who offered her none. She didn't scream, she didn't fight back, but something inside her shifted forever. And that silence was the most dangerous part of all. She didn't scream. She didn't throw things. She didn't collapse to the floor sobbing. That version of Caitlin, the one who broke in private, she was gone. This new Caitlin, she was quiet. Too quiet. She stared into the mirror, skin burning where her hair used to be, her eyes red but unblinking. They thought they had humiliated her, reduced her, defeated her. But what they didn't know was that in trying to break her, they had finally set something free. She no longer cared about being the good daughter. She no longer craved their approval. And without that leash around her throat, she could breathe. She could think. And she did. In that locked bathroom, surrounded by scissors and shame, Caitlin stopped grieving and started calculating. She didn't want revenge for vanity. She wanted truth, exposure, balance. If they wanted war dressed as a wedding, she would give them the ceremony they'd never forget. Weddings are noisy, full of clinking glasses, fake laughter, and perfectly timed toasts. But at this one, Caitlin was silent. She sat alone, wrapped in her too large dress, her new pixie cut making her feel naked and exposed. Everyone else avoided her, except him, Mark Jackson's older brother, the best man, the only one who didn't look away. He walked over, holding a drink, sat beside her without asking, didn't force small talk, just breathed with her for a moment. Then gently, "You didn't do that to yourself, did you?" No accusation, no pity, just truth. Caitlin didn't speak. She only shook her head. Mark nodded slowly, as if confirming something he already suspected. "Well," he said after a long pause, "then they're even worse than I thought." He didn't press. He didn't offer cliches, just presence. And in that moment, surrounded by people who'd either hurt her or ignored her, Caitlin felt something she hadn't felt in days. Seen. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's methodical. And Caitlin, she wasn't about to throw a fit. She was about to dismantle a fantasy piece by piece. Step 1. The itch. She waited until the reception. While everyone danced and laughed, she slipped away into the bridal suite. Emma's wedding night lingerie had already been laid out, delicate, white, expensive. Caitlin opened a small vial. Clear, colorless, odorless. Itching powder, the medical-grade kind, activated by heat and friction. She dabbed it gently into the lace and seams. Not enough to harm, just enough to ruin the night. Step 2. The delay. Next stop, the wedding coordinator's laptop. Caitlin had memorized Emma's travel itinerary weeks ago. She created 2 identical-looking plane tickets, but with a 13-hour difference, switched them into the honeymoon envelope. When Emma and Jackson would arrive at the airport the next morning, their flight would already be gone. Step 3. The mirror cracks. Later that night, Caitlin borrowed a bridesmaid's phone just to check the time. She accessed Emma's Instagram. Password, still their childhood dog's name. She queued up a batch of photos, unflattering angles, awkward faces, bad lighting. Each one scheduled to post during the honeymoon. Captions written in Emma's voice. Just enough vanity to seem real. Just enough cringe to spark whispers. Step 4. The truth bomb. And finally, the most delicate stroke. An anonymous email. Sent to the HR department of Emma's firm. Subject line, concerned colleague, re-MM's resume discrepancy. Attached screenshots from her college's public records. Proof that Emma had exaggerated her GPA and graduation honors. Nothing illegal, but just enough to open an internal review. Caitlin didn't smile when it was done. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about breaking the illusion and finally taking back control. It started as a tickle. Emma laughed it off, a little itch on her lower back. Must be the lace, she giggled, sipping champagne. But 10 minutes later, the giggles were gone. Now she was pacing the honeymoon suite barefoot, tearing at her skin, whimpering under her breath. "Something's wrong," she hissed, scratching around the waistline, then the straps, then everywhere. Jackson, still in his dress shirt, half-buttoned, blinked in confusion. "Do you want me to?" "Don't touch me," she snapped, face blotchy with panic. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her nails had left angry red trails all over her body. By midnight, she was curled on the edge of the bed, wrapped in a towel, sobbing. The sheets had been stripped. Room service was on their third delivery of hypoallergenic linens. Emma kept muttering, "I can't believe this is happening. This was supposed to be perfect." Jackson said nothing. He just stood there, watching the illusion collapse. He'd married a goddess that morning. Now he wasn't sure who this was. They missed the flight. Emma stood at the airport gate, jaw clenched, watching her honeymoon flight to Bali vanish on the screen. Final call, gate closed. Jackson tried to speak. Emma held up her hand. "I don't want to hear it." 13 hours later, they finally landed in Denpasar, hot, exhausted, and not speaking. But the universe wasn't done with her yet. Their luggage, lost. The airline had somehow rerouted it to Singapore. All of it. Emma's dresses, makeup, toiletries, gone. Emma had to walk into the resort wearing the same wrinkled airport sweats she'd been crying in for 2 days. And then came the Instagram posts. One by one, they appeared like timed bombs. Photos Emma never meant to post. Bad angles, half blinks, a double chin here, sweat stains there. And the captions? "My Bali glow up. Who needs filters when you have this natural chaos? Marriage is a blessing." And an eczema flare-up, apparently. Jackson showed her the first one with wide eyes. "Did you post this?" Emma snatched the phone, stared at the screen in horror. No! What the hell is this?" She tried to log in, locked out, temporarily suspended. Her phone buzzed again. A bridesmaid texted, "You okay, babe? Your Insta looks hacked, lol." Emma sank into the hotel bed, head in hands, mascara ruined again. This was supposed to be her dream life, but somehow it had turned into a comedy, and she was the punchline. Emma was still in Bali when it happened. An email marked urgent from her company's HR department. "Emma, we've received a report regarding discrepancies in your educational records. Please make yourself available for a video meeting within 48 hours. This matter requires immediate attention. HR compliance team." Emma stared at the screen, pulse pounding in her ears. Her hand trembled. She had told one small lie years ago, just a GPA bump, just a line about magna cum laude. No one checked, no one cared. Until now. She dialed the company number, her voice tight, dry. "Hi, yes, this is Emma McConnell. I just received your email." The woman on the other end didn't flinch. Her tone was clipped, cold. "Yes, Emma, we'd like to review your records and get a written statement by Friday." Click. No warmth, no reassurance, just protocol. That night, Emma sat on the hotel balcony, Jackson asleep behind her. She stared out into the Bali night, but all she saw was her life slowly unraveling. No more control, no more filters, and maybe no more career. Caitlin didn't make a scene. She didn't post a farewell. She didn't wait for closure. She just left. Seattle welcomed her with rain. Cold, quiet, honest. She rented a small apartment. Nothing fancy, but it was hers. No one there called her too pretty to be smart. No one asked her to tone it down. At work, she was valued not for her looks, but for how she led meetings, how she solved conflicts, how she listened. She signed up for therapy. Week by week, she unpacked the weight she didn't even know she was carrying. Guilt that wasn't hers, shame that didn't belong. Years of shrinking herself just to make others feel big. In Seattle, she wasn't the other daughter. She was Caitlin. Whole, worthy, free. And no, she never returned. Mark didn't fall in love with Caitlin because she was beautiful. He fell for the way she listened, the way she didn't interrupt, The way she asked, "How are you?" really, and actually meant it. He liked that she wasn't trying to impress him. She didn't dress up for every date. Sometimes she wore sweatpants. Sometimes she wore silence. And he stayed. With Mark, there was no measuring, no scoreboard, no invisible sister standing between them, just shared dinners, shared playlists, shared peace. He didn't want to fix her. He just wanted to know her. And for the first time in her life, Caitlin wasn't competing. She was seen, and she was enough. The letter came on a Tuesday, handwritten, folded neatly, no return address, but she knew the handwriting, her mother's. "Caitlin, I know I've hurt you. I thought I was protecting Emma. I didn't realize I was destroying you in the process. I'm sorry, truly." Caitlin sat by the window. She read it once, then again, then once more, and finally she picked up a pen. "Thank you for acknowledging the pain. That alone is more than I ever expected. But I won't be coming back. I've learned something important. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to leave." She folded the reply. No tears, no trembling hands, just a quiet breath and a full heart. Forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation. It meant freedom. And for the first time in her life, Caitlin felt whole by choosing herself. The chaos faded. So did the noise. So did the names. Emma, mother, the wedding, all of it behind her. Caitlin wasn't interested in revenge anymore. Not really. It wasn't the ruined honeymoon. It wasn't the HR investigation. It wasn't the Instagram meltdown. The real win was sipping coffee without dread, sleeping through the night, laughing without guilt, waking up and not shrinking. Peace wasn't loud. It didn't announce itself. It just arrived. And when it did, Caitlin smiled, not to prove anything, but because she finally could. The girl they tried to break, she was gone. The woman who replaced her, unshakable. Her hair was shorter now, a sleek, confident bob. No more golden waves down her back, no more hiding behind softness. Her eyes still warm, but sharper, clearer. Her smile, not forced, not polite, just honest. She no longer needed to be invited to shine. She was the light now, on her own terms, on her own path. Caitlin walked past a mirror, paused. She didn't flinch, didn't check for flaws. She just smiled. This version of her, she wasn't waiting to be chosen. She had already chosen herself. There were flowers, soft jazz in the air, and laughter, the kind that doesn't ask for permission. Caitlin stood in a simple ivory dress. No corset, no veil, no one telling her how to look or who to be. Mark held her hand, not as a prize, but as an equal. There were no seats saved for people who had clipped her wings, no forced smiles, no guilt-driven hugs, just friends who knew her story, who saw her rise, who clapped not because she got married, but because she found peace. As they walked down the garden aisle, a breeze lifted the edge of her dress. Sunlight touched her collarbone. And in that moment, Caitlin whispered, not to anyone else, but to herself, "They tried to cut my beauty, but all they did was set my spirit free." Sometimes the deepest scars come from the people closest to us, but healing doesn't always require confrontation. Sometimes it simply requires distance and the courage to choose yourself even when no one else does. You don't have to shrink to make others feel big. You don't have to be quiet just to keep the peace. You are not selfish for walking away from people who refuse to see your worth, because the most powerful revenge is not chaos, not drama, but peace, joy, and a life you choose with your own hands. If this story touched something in you, if you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or underestimated, then you're not alone. Hit subscribe to join a space where stories like these are told with honesty, empathy, and strength. Leave a comment below. Your voice matters here. And if you know someone who needs this reminder, share it with them, because healing starts with being heard.